Well, as we've been talking about this morning, Gareth Southgate stood down as England manager yesterday, and already the discussions have begun about who might take over. So now the debate begins. Keep the job in the hands of an Englishman or open the field to all available candidates. But with the current squad and the pay packet, perhaps some pretty big names could be enticed to take on what is one of the most high-profile jobs in international football. So among the favourites, we have Graham Potter. He impressed in his 3 years at Brighton. It didn't work out at Chelsea, where he was sacked more than a year ago. Maybe he's turned down a host of jobs since because of an eye on this one. Another highly rated English coach expected to be on the FA's shortlist is Eddie Howe. Although luring him away from Newcastle could prove difficult, they've said they will fight to keep him. And is this Southgate Mark II? So that is England's under-21 coach. Lee Carsley has been successful and would be an obvious candidate in terms of an interim coach were it needed. The FA, however, aren't ruling out a foreign coach. So how about the Argentine, Mauricio Pochettino? He lives in London and has had several jobs in England. He's also available after leaving Chelsea in May. And then we have Jurgen Klopp, another illustrious name, out of work, having left Liverpool. But the availability might be an issue here. He said he wanted to take a long break. And if you're aiming high, why not consider Pep Guardiola while we're at it? The FA said they're committed to hiring the very best, but the Manchester City manager has a contract until next year. Whoever takes over, this is a hard act to follow. Southgate will be remembered as a man who restored the credibility of the English team. For so long, a symbol of sporting underachievement over his 8 years in charge. And with just 2 years until the next World Cup, it will now fall to his replacement to try and build on that progress and try and secure that elusive major trophy.
Well, we're joined now by the England and Liverpool legend, John Barnes. Morning, John. Great to see you.
Morning.
So, big shoes to fill. Who would you choose?
Well, first of all, these top Premier League managers are earning 4 times what the England manager earns. So the whole idea that England managers, they've got the money to do it, they haven't got the money to do it. The Jurgen Klopps and the Pep Guardiolas are earning 5 times what the England manager earns. So unless they're going to prepare to do that, I doubt that's going to happen. I feel that you should get the best available person, because you're not going to get the best person for the job. Because the best person for the job, if you're talking about right at the elite level, you're talking about obviously Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp or Mikel Arteta, and they're not going to do it. I'm leaning towards Graham Potter, I have to admit, because I think that if you look at what he did in terms of implementing a style of play at Brighton, notwithstanding it may not have worked at Chelsea, which is very, very comprehensive in terms of the players understanding what they're doing. And if you can get very good players like we have to fit into a system, I think that that's the way forward. Because I think what Gareth has done is that he's picked a lot of very good players and just relied on the players who are individually brilliant to win football matches, which has nearly taken us to where we want to go. But we haven't really played in any system or any with an identity whereby you can then pick players in to suit the system, which is what Spain does. Because Spain didn't have individually fantastic players. Morata, Lenormand, Laporte. You know, these are just very, very good players who understand the system. But it's a fantastic job because they've got lots of players to work with. But I think it has to be a manager who probably will go along with what the FA's plans are, rather than a huge manager who wants to come in and shake things up and say, you got to do it my way.
To what extent, morning, John, it's Nina here. Do you think it has to be an English manager? Do you think nationality matters?
No, I don't think it has to be. I don't think it has to be. It has to be the better man for the job. But I'm looking around at the candidates. I mean, apart from Mauricio Pochettino, who obviously I think will want a lot of more money than Gareth Southgate was getting anywhere they're prepared to pay, I think the obvious choice is either going to be Eddie Howe or Graham Potter, as I said. And they're very, very good. They understand the British culture. They understand what the FA want. They're willing to work within the rules and the guidelines of the FA with the people who are there. Whereas I think when you get a manager like a Jurgen Klopp or a Pep Guardiola or even a Mikel Arteta, they are the ones who completely dominate and control the whole environment, which is why they're successful. But I don't think that that's necessarily suited to international football or to English international football.
Also, Gareth Southgate sort of changed the conversation around football because it was like the opposite of micromanaging. He sort of taught everybody how to relax, and then as a nation we sort of relaxed into supporting England. It was a shift in tone. Was that part of his success?
Well, I don't think he taught us how to do that. I think that what he did, he created a harmonious atmosphere between the press, who like him because he's a nice guy, and the players. So therefore the players like him, the press like him because he doesn't get controversial. If they have a go at him, he doesn't bite back. Imagine having a go at Jose Mourinho, or Jurgen Klopp or Mikel Arteta or Guardiola. They'd be quite feisty, whereas he's not like that, and that's what we like. Is that enough to really make us win, rather than having somebody like a Jose Mourinho who's controversial? But there are no guarantees that that way will work anyway. So I think that it has to be a very calm manager, because this is the nature of the FA. That's the nature of the press and the media in England. So I think it'll have to be somebody who's still along those lines in terms of his personality.
That's the trouble, isn't it, John? Because you get one England manager, but 50 million would-be England managers at home in their armchairs judging you every second, every decision you make. You've got to be so resilient as a character.
Well, not just resilience, because I'm sure inside Gareth must be biting his tongue, because I know he'd like to come out and tell people, what the hell do you know? I've done this, and and some managers would. So, and that probably wouldn't be the right response, because you know what we're like in Britain. So I think that the character, and meaning the calmness of the manager, is going to be very important.
OK, John, thank you. 2 years to the World Cup. I think you're due another rap at that one, OK?
Not this coming home rubbish.
Oh. I think that's a promise of a John Barnes rap Mark II. There we go.
I think it is. Remix.
Exclusive on Breakfast.